So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch the edit and we're gonna take notes on the right based on what we learn. So we're gonna watch this from the front right now and we'll just watch it through one time.
This is Dave. He tells dirty jokes for a living. That stare is where most of his hard work happens. It signifies a profound train of thought, the alchemist fire that transforms fear and tragedy into levity and livelihood. Dave calls that look the trance.
Working on it.
So today we're going to break down that edit that we just looked at from Dave Chappelle, The Age of Spin. We're going to go into that 1 minute long piece and we're going to dig into it. We're going to examine the different editing techniques that are being used in there. We're going to examine why they're being used, the storytelling process that's being used, and we're going to document that in a document here, and we're going to dig into that together right now. So if you're interested in learning how to dissect and edit and learn from it, then this is for you. And we're going to get into that real quick here. So let's go back to the front of this.
This is Dave.
So we're starting out with these shots of Dave Chappelle sitting outside of a cafe or something like that, of that nature. And these shots look like they're on like a Ronin or something of that.
Dirty jokes for a living.
That shot is moving from the left to the right. This next one is going to be moving the opposite direction. And we've got sort of a mask here from someone walking in front of the frame that goes between them. So we're moving this way, and now we're moving that way.
Hard work happens. It signifies.
And we're closer, okay? So we're a little closer on the second shot. All right, so the first shot, 0 to 6 seconds, I think. Yes, 7 seconds. 7. Medium wide, and it's on Ronin. And then we're moving.
He tells dirty jokes for a living.
Left to right, left to right, left to right.
That stare is where most of his hard work happens.
And then that's a little bit longer lens. So medium, close, right to left, tighter.
It signifies a profound train.
Ooh, okay. So then
It signifies a profound train.
we're now going left to right again. So now they're going back and forth with the motion of the camera, and we're closer, even. Punch in closer, over the shoulder, and we're doing left to right.
Train of thought.
And we're kind of circling around his back now.
Fire that transforms.
And it's pushing in too. We're pushing in. So if you notice on this shot, as we come around this corner, we're getting closer and closer to
Fire that transforms.
Dave Chappelle's head. We're moving in closer to his head. Okay.
Transforms fear.
Oops.
This is Dave. He tells dirty jokes for a living. That stare is where most of his hard work happens. It signifies a profound train of thought, the alchemist fire that transforms fear and
That time, we keep the motion. We're not changing the motion. We're going left to right again. And we're closer on his face.
tragedy in transforms fear and tragedy into levity. And Dave calls that look the trance.
So we've basically jumped in the beginning of this. I'm just going to sum this up in one box up here. So we're going to do a variety of Ronin steady shots progressively closer to subject matters face head. Most cuts are being hidden with blurred object in foreground. Delete all that. In the foreground. So let's watch this one more time from the top here.
This is Dave. He tells dirty jokes for a living. That stare is where most of his hard work happens. It signifies a profound train of thought, the alchemist fire that transforms fear and tragedy into levity and livelihood. Dave calls that look the trance.
It's so black and white, increased pacing as shots progress. So in this scene so far, we have Dave Chappelle sitting in this park. He's thinking, and the voiceover points in that direction that this is going to be an inside look at his mind and how he comes up with his ideas and how he formulates his stand-up comedy. And as we move through this sequence of like 24 seconds, the camera is moving around him on a steady camera, and we're moving in progressively closer and closer to his mind and his face by punching in. It's black and white, and I think that for me, that whole reasoning behind that for me is, you know, as we move closer to his mind, we literally move closer in the imagery. And additionally, the black and white kind of flattens the mood versus when we get into the next section of this, which is really poppy and cutty. There's more color and integrated color. So now it's setting the bar in terms of the outside world as drab or whatever. It's not very exciting or thrilling or whatever. It's kind of, this is just the outside world. It's black and white. It's plain. It's very steady and smooth, and we're kind of slowly inching in to see what Dave Chappelle thinks in his head. So that's kind of the interpretation of the front of this for me. And then now we're going to get into the fun part of this edit, which is the inner workings of Dave Chappelle's mind. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the live chat stream. I'll check that every now and then. All right, so now we're going inside Dave Chappelle's mind. So right there immediately, wow. So we've taken the actual clip of Dave Chappelle in the park, and we're transitioning into his mind with this shot. So this looks like almost like sort of a digital rendering of his face, and then we come up with these cracks in these smears on his face horizontally. So digital render of face, and then the face cracks apart. The light is emitting. You see the light that's emitting out of there? As light emits. That's great. So it's like the inside of his mind is like exploding his actual face here. And then right there, okay, so now as we're coming through this explosion, we start to see some color. So this color is sort of exploding out of him. So start to see color in the explosion that is Dave's mind. Just for a moment there, though. It's just really brief, and there's also sort of this almost like a universe in this, like, this looks like a galaxy inside of his mind. So like a brief glimpse of Dave's mind's galaxy. That's like a galaxy in there. Look at that. And then his head, it gets sucked back together. And then it zooms, and we're zooming out. So we have this moment here where it's like, boom, really a quick flash into his head, a little bit of color, this galaxy in the background, the chips that are his face have come apart, and then we fully rotate, and his face comes back together, and then that starts to pull back into this hand clapping, and this hand clapping is in this like square. Oh, okay, yeah, now we're gonna pull out until there's more squares. So we've kind of taken a moment to dip into his mind, and I think that now this is it. This is sort of a little 360 look in, and now we're inside of his mind with that clap. The hand claps, and now we're in the mind of Dave Chappelle. So that all happened in 1 second. So let's see. I think so. Right here. And the clap, that's 1 second, 11 frames. That's pretty crazy. So I'm gonna loop that. We're gonna watch that for a second. It's a lot of work for 1 second. I like it though. I really dig that. That's super cool. So now we've got the clap coming in. And we're black and white again. So we had a moment of color, and there's a little color bands on this hand here, a little red here, a little blue here. So there's a little glimpse of color. Clap. So there's this hands clapping in 9-up. So we have this 9-up here. This is interesting with the boxes. 9-up in boxes. And we're zooming out. We're zooming backwards from this scene, and Dave Chappelle's mind is in that hand clap. So there's also this like glow around his head here. As we zoom backwards, the glow around his head. Zoom backwards, so they put like sort of a Gaussian blur or something like that around his head, and then faded it and moved it backwards at the same time. The hands clap, and then we're still pulling back, and then we cut. Okay, so this is the first. I think that's the first hard cut that we've had in this entire thing. So we've had sort of these cuts in here in the front that are hidden, behind these objects in the foreground, and they sort of create this mask and fluidity. And Then we have this transition effect, another transition effect, another transition, and then that's the first hard cut. So 26 seconds into this, I think that's notable. I think that you know, the first hard cut in the edit is at 26 seconds. And that's to this sort of stock footage from, I don't know, the 50s of this crowd just going bananas. Cool. Okay, so now we're still in black and white, you know, black and white, and then to crowd, old footage. Oh, wow. In theater, clapping. So we're looking in his mind, and the first thing we see is a bunch of hands clapping. We see a crowd going wild in a theater. Dave Chappelle does stand up. Okay, so this is sort of like the crowd's going wild for something, right? There's this moment happening here in his mind. The crowd's going wild for what? And then we cut to, this is the first full color scene in this. I think, again, notable. So we're 27 seconds into this, and we've got some color now. And these are Care Bears. Care Bears in full color. And they all appear to be smoking, which I assume is an add-on, because that seems to be something that Dave Chappelle has made part of his brand as he came back. And so we've got this color shot. So this is, you know, the crowd's looking down. This is the stage, apparently. Like, so that's the stage in his mind. And this Care Bears, they start to blast their chests with light, and they start to get like annihilated. Oh, and they're coming out of their own bodies and landing. So they've sort of like blasted through their shell to land again as they were. Oh, I didn't even notice that in watching this before. And I don't know, it's almost like colors are a little bit more muted too. And then we have a VHS effect here. So at 28 seconds, we have this VHS transition effect. And then this transition effect, it almost doesn't like go, it looks like this transition effect here, this like VHS-y effect, is not on the edit, which is interesting. So oftentimes I feel like oftentimes I think when you have like a VHS effect, or how I've used it in the past, is you'll have your two clips and they're butt up against each other, and then you'll put the effect right on the middle of the two clips, and it'll have the staticky effect in between each clip, and it'll sort of be split exactly down the middle. And in this case, it looks like the VHS effect is on the clip of the Care Bears only, and then it stops, and then we are in a world where there is then VHS activity in like this, you know, or this old-timey look of a TV. So it's sort of like lending itself to the transition, but not being the transition. So only on one side of clip that leads into old-time VHS era style scene. So it's almost like the transition is leading into the scene, but not completely. I think that's interesting. I like that. That's something I'm learning here. And then now we're pushing, this is like a TV set within a TV set. Space Shuttle Challenger, 1986. And then that channel sort of, inside of this TV, we have a channel change effect as we're zooming in. And then we have a hard cut. So we have this scene that is a TV and a TV, and we're pushing into it. We have a cut within the TV that's sort of a VHS effect cut. And then I think that, again, I love this. I love the, let's see, 0029. So we have a TV within a TV, and then on the TV we have a scene playing with a VHS effect as the cut, with a zoom on the entire scene. So this scene's super complicated. So we have a lot going on here, and we also have this, like, right here we have this like staticky look on the TV, which you can see in these little lines here, and the vertical lines too, and then that sort of fades out and becomes clean. So that looks like that's a layer right there of like effect. So we have this overlay here, right here, and that's sort of in line with this effect. It's different, the movement's different, but we have this effect and this overlay, and then now we're crystal clear on this scene, but inside of it, inside of this TV, this is now staticky. So we've moved this staticky look of this TV to a clean modern day shot of this scene with staticky look inside of this TV. And then we're pushing in on these scenes, which are, you know, monumental moments of the 80s, which is potentially when, you know, Dave was, you know, I don't know, in his early 20s or something like that, or, you know, some time where he was, you know, these probably influenced his life and his thought patterns. And then we have a cut to what appears to be, it's almost like people watching this TV. It's sort of similar in terms of the quality of the video, and they're almost watching it. And this has like sort of an overlay on it too, which you can see this little speck here on this lady's face. This is interesting. This is really weird. You have like these two people. She seems happy. She seems indifferent. This lady seems like straight up a demon. Look at her over here. Whoa, that's kind of scary. Again, going frame by frame on this stuff. You know, we're really having an opportunity to look at the nuances of these frames. And if you're an editor and you're working through something this complex, you're gonna be paying attention to that. In that little shot of that lady in the right hand corner right here, that is creepy as fuck, and that is on purpose for sure. You know, that is some weird ass stuff right there. But as you watch this, it's going to be subliminal. You're not going to notice that unless we do this breakdown. And then we do this hard cut to these cats, and these are like these are some pop culture iconic Hello Kitty, but I don't think that the eyes of Hello Kitty are actually this weird, you know, Twilight twirly zone thing, and they're definitely not usually on businessmen. So you have this kind of like dream state of pop culture blend. And I think maybe that's something that maybe I would imagine that Dave Chappelle had a lot of input on. He was like, you know, let's have this funky, twirly, colorful background with this pop culture thing on businessmen, and the heads are kind of derpily animated back and forth. And there is an overlay here. We can see this little speck here. See how this, as we move, there's like this film-esque overlay. And there looks like almost there's a blur gradient from the face is crisp. These two are blurry. So we have, and then this is definitely old school film vibes. So if we go back here a second, we've moved from black and white into some color, into some, this is full color now, a little black and white, and then this is definitely full color, and now we're in this like muted but full color scene. So we're in the color of Dave Chappelle's mind at this point. And let's look at this again. Hold on. Let's take a look here.
The trance.
So we've zoomed out. And on this Care Bear shot, there's a little bit of movement of the camera from left to right, sort of a dolly. And now we're zooming in. A dolly again, left to right on this camera move, which matches the Care Bear. Another slight zoom in on this, so we can. Is it a zoom? Yeah, so you can see on the coat down here, there's this zoom in on this frame, and there's also this twirling, swirling background has a weird effect on it also. Let me see if I can. I feel like the desktop audio probably needs to be turned down a little bit here. All right, cool. So there's this twirling effect on the background, which also kind of creates a zoom feel. That looks like a, is it? So this is, that's like the first like speed ramp I think that we've seen. So there's a speed ramp at 31 seconds of a cigarette speed ramp. And again, here we're playing with black and white. This is a black and white clip that they've added these color strips to. So you have sort of this rainbow of color applied to the black and white over top as an overlay. So the song is super catchy if you haven't had a chance to watch this. Black and white with rainbow overlay. There's a lot of grain, old footage. And oh, that's cool. The actual color overlay goes with the object. So it's moving with the object as we come down here. And that's like, you know, so we've had black and white mixed in. And we've had a couple moments where there's, like in the beginning right here, we have some black and white with some like color overlays and ripple effects of the color on what we're seeing. But I feel like this moment here is unique in that it's black and white with this color smeared on top. Oh, this is weird. This is interesting. So, okay, so we're gonna keep moving on here. And so we've gone from this one to another, it's just another hard cut. And we have the scene of a homeless man, super symmetrical. Love the symmetry of this. And in the right-hand corner, first things first, there's this little weird thing of color. I don't know what that's gonna be. So this is clearly a photo. So now, is this our first photograph? I think it is. Okay. So now we're using a photo. So using, let's see, first photo. And so you might not think necessarily, oh, I'm making this cool poppy edit and I'm gonna use a photo in it. You might think, if you're, you know, maybe you are, if you're around my age, you might be like, oh, like Ken Burns uses photos. And like Ken Burns is a fantastic filmmaker. He has his own style, but like a slow push in on a photograph doesn't have to be the only way to use a photo. you can have fun and play with your photo, and we're about to see that right now. A really cool way to use a photo in your edit, and in a very poppy, quick way that the vast majority of people, when they're watching it, they're not even gonna. If you ask someone who watched this, was there a photograph in there? They probably wouldn't even say, yeah, there's a photograph. I bet a lot of people would miss it because it becomes so energetic with this paint over. And even this photo, immediately from the beginning, we have a zoom in. We have a zoom in on this imagery. We have an overlay. You see the specks here? We have an overlay of what is like sort of like a film overlay, which has been consistent theme throughout this. This is a film overlay. And as we push in, a scene is built around this homeless man where he's now sitting on a bed with his 40 and his cup of soup and his coffee and his snack here. And we've moved from the world that he's in into a world that he probably usually isn't in. And then this background begins to melt away into the world that he was in previously. Wow. He's homeless and now he's not, and it's just an illusion, and he's actually still homeless. Wow, this is a really cool, interesting scene, and like the actual image they picked in this concrete slab he's on builds the bed, right? And this stuff is on the bed with him. Oh, that's super cool. So first photo with color. So it's black and white image, black and white photo with color painted in progressively with zoom, color, scene, moves image into world that is juxtaposition to the world of the homeless man, and then it melts away back to his reality. This is super, super cool and interesting way to sort of tell a story here where, you know, maybe the idea is this guy is sort of fantasizing about where he was or where he wants to be or a situation that is out of reach for him, and then it melts away and he's back to where he was. And the motion on the camera, on the image, plus the animation, plus the overlay, plus the mix of black and white and color, phenomenal. So sick. I love it. I love it. And then, boom, we got Arnold Schwarzenegger. What a hilarious image, you know? And at this point, like, you know, we're pretty deep inside of this edit where it's just bopping around, right? So we've moved to so many different places. We started with this audience, and we've sort of woven down this path of what seems to be random things mashed together. Is very much a dream state, and it's a hard cut between these. And then we've got a similar situation where this is an image, right? And it's a black and white image, and it's actually multiple images, I'm assuming. This looks too weird to me to be the real thing. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not familiar with this photo of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like it looks like there's a photo of Arnold Schwarzenegger here, and then he's been photoshopped into this field. And then we have added moments of color into the scene with these, I don't know, people flying kites plus people in hot air balloons. So you have this black and white and color mix, just like the other shot. So on the photo, and again we have a zoom in. This is starts as a soft, like a slow zoom, and then now we're punching in super quick. Super cool. Love this. So you can actually see it up here right at the beginning. You can see the reversed image of Arnold plus the balloons in this faded black and white, right? So it's faded black and white up here. It's there already. We don't know it's there in the beginning. 1, 2, 3. We're zooming in on him. The balloons are moving, so we have some animation here. And then we pivot. The zoom pivots right there and it starts moving to the right really quickly. And as it does, we're moving through this world. We're with the perspective, see all this is getting bigger. So we're moving through the world that is being seen right now to an inverted world of what we just saw. And it looks like it would continue. So it looks like this would continue to loop back and forth because you see Arnold on the left here. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so we have a zoom on photo with world within a world. And that's a really interesting, cool idea. And I'm sure that, everyone has weird dreams, and that's sort of what we're like looking at here. Although this is supposed to be Dave Chappelle's, creative mind, right? So he's thinking about Arnold Schwarzenegger in a field with people flying kites and color balloons in the background within a world of a world. And then we have another cut to another image. And this appears to be a full color. So now we're going full color. 34, full color. And this is actually a painting. So this is the first painting, I think, that we've seen. Has it been? I mean, this is very much painted, but it looks digital to me. Yeah, I mean, that's an illustration. But this is like a painting. This is a proper painting. So there's a lot of diversity in this piece so far in terms of the medium that is being showcased. So we have a lot of diversity in the medium. So we have video being demonstrated here. We have a lot of like digital art being demonstrated. We have photography, and now we have a painting, which appears to be like a watercolor painting. So the mediums that are being showcased in this piece inside of Dave's head are becoming very diverse, which is cool, which makes sense, because as you go through your thoughts, and it's very different and chaotic, and what you can create in your head and what you think of in your head can be so diverse. So that's cool that they're taking advantage of that in the story they're telling. So now we're zooming in to Trump's mouth. So the scene, I'm assuming that this scene that we're starting on is the same animation of this scene, which we then zoom into his mouth again. So we're doing a similar zooming into a scene within the scene, which is the same scene over again. It's like that opportunity for like looping. So that's what they're playing with this looping. Looping with a mask. That's what we're looking at here. Is this? So they've created a mask here around his mouth, and inside of that they've put the other clip, and then they've done the same thing. They've created a mask here around his mouth, and we're moving inside of that and to another clip. So they're playing with this looping with mask, zooming in, and I feel like there's a lot of zooming in, which is like sort of, to me, that feels the zooming in that is happening over and over and over, whether it's subtle or aggressive like we just saw here. That zooming in is interpreted to me as zooming further into Dave Chappelle's mind, digging deeper into his thoughts and kind of navigating these pathways inside of his head. That's sort of how it feels to me, that progressive zoom in, versus if we were pulling out, that would feel like we're backing away from what he's thinking about, not digging into it. So I think the zooming is intentional when it comes to how this is being portrayed. And then we've got zooming in from Donald Trump. We are zooming into USA, and he's almost like a handicapped hero. That's what it kind of looks like. I'm not gonna dig into that, but it's interesting for sure. Similar illustration style. And then we're zooming into that mouth kind of warps. So like I feel like on these Donald Trump ones, the mouth does warp a little towards the end and warps a little there. This one warps a little earlier where it's just like, bow! Like right there. That's pretty funky looking. Very surreal. And then we've got this iconic, I think this is from World War II, and there's a lot of propaganda in World War II and a lot of posters made and stuff like that, and a lot of it is like the workforce, and it looks like this has been altered. Again, we're in this weird world within a world looping environment where we're no longer in this watercolor sort of atmosphere for the art. This is more this other, I'm not an artist in terms of this, but this is a different style of painting, I would assume. And they've altered this iconic image where it is looped. So you can see her hand is herself, which is herself, which is herself. And it appears that as we zoom in, so she moves her arm up, boom. And then she moves her arm up, boom. And then the camera is zooming in and it's rotating. And she moves her arm up. So it's almost like another sort of endless, we have an opportunity for an endless loop within a painting. And then this is sort of this Dutch angle. So Dutch angle is when, Dutch angle is when you're moving the camera like this. So as we're zooming in on her, we're not zooming in straight like we have on some of these other ones. We're zooming in and we're rotating, and I think that leads itself into the next series of shots as we're going to see. So we start this sort of Dutch angle move, which is going to become, I think, a rotation. And I love the arm just like boop, popping up like that. That's really cool. And she's just staring us down. Yeah, and so the rotation looks, so we're rotating, and then the spinning, so that, I think this rotation that starts here is to complement this next move. And this is sort of this like spiral tunnel, but it comes in as these, we demand decent, equal rights now. We demand decent housing now. So there's all this protest posters that are coming in, surrounding and focusing on this face, creating this warp. And we have the color bleed on the edge here, where so this is black and white now. And they are actually leading with this little line of green on the front, outlined. And there's some faces in here, protesters, I assume. And we're warping into the, and then boom, just full color, and now there's all these USA flags. And then I think this is like the gay pride flag, LGBTQ. And then look at me, I'm turning my head sideways. This is some funky deep stuff right here. These flags. And it's kind of got this blur on it too. And then yeah, that flag there. And then this turns into this wild color. And then there he is again! Dave. Damn. This is cool. So then you have this pop here, and what is this? There's so much depth to this. This is really wild, the amount of depth here. The amount of depth here is crazy in terms of the intricacy of the artwork and just frame by frame. Like if you're looking at, we're talking, so right here we have this rotation right here, okay? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 frames were here. So this is one second later. In this 1 second, we've brought this repeat image that zooms in, consumes this lady. It has this weird funky color effect on the side, and then it pops into a whole new color scheme that lends. And I would be interested to know how to do this effect. I don't know how to do this, but it's interesting to me, and it's sort of like, it's a cool warp effect. And then all of a sudden it pops into this other color, and then that starts to swirl into like a tie-dye look. And then the little hole, out pops Dave Chappelle in sort of this like just glossy black overlay like of his head. This, which I think is the same as when we first entered his mind. Let's see. Pretty similar. It looks like it looks pretty similar to me. So what was that? We've got 14 seconds into this, and then all of a sudden a version of Dave Chappelle shows up. It's sort of disconnected from his body. It's not truly him, but he's in his mind's eye now. And that quickly, well, this is a quick transition. So the spiral then smooths out. So you can see it was a spiral, and now it's spiraling, and then those beams are smoothing out and getting straight. So now they're straight, just emitting from Dave. And then we zoom in here, and there's just a smash of color that we're coming out of this color, and I think it's like we're coming smashing through that. And then all of a sudden we got Dave in this Miami Vice vibe. And this scene right here is a little pixelated from the screen cap that I did, so it normally is not pixelated, so that is not an effect here. But we're so Dave's head's little head, zoom into his full, almost like his mind, like his head warps here. So it's like, it's normal warp for a frame back to normal. So it's kind of like a pow, like we're punching in and coming out super quick. And then there's a little bit of this sort of effect, residual effect on both ends. So he comes in, and then boom, there's a little residual here, and that's coming in on the trees, sort of a RGB channel shift. And then we're pulling out again and settling into this moment. Oh, and then his head's coming apart. And so we're inside of Dave's head, And now we're looking inside of Dave's head, inside of his head. Man, it's like the little Russian dolls that are inside of one another. So that concept of like the Russian dolls coming out of one another. And it's like this scene is now very like 80s. 80s Miami Vice, and then you have this like tech overlay over Dave, and even down here, see this like computer like Sega tech overlay, and then his head is the same, and then there's a hard cut tech overlay. Hard cut. You got to have some hard cuts in here. I think that it would be too overwhelming to have it just be. It's like there's so many cool transitions in this piece so far, so many, and in between there's often hard cuts. So I think there's a lesson to be learned right there, where it's like if you're doing transitions, do them, but do them thoughtfully when they make sense, and then also use hard cuts when it makes sense. And you don't need a crazy transition. This is a crazy ass piece, and you don't need a crazy transition for every single cut. There's plenty of hard cuts from scene to scene in this piece, and it's still bonkers. So that's a good takeaway. I like that takeaway. Huh. I don't know who this character is. This could be some sort of iconic character. He definitely has a flamboyant characteristic. He has a big D on his chest, and on his belt the rainbow, and his little wrist here. And so we're coming out of Dave's head, boom, his head within his head, and we do a hard cut to this guy, and he's got these little streaks that are colored behind him. Again, another sort of style. We've now gone from this sort of computer-generated 3D model, 3D model art, and then we come into this cartoon. Let's see, cartoon. I want to say like 70s vibe. A lot of diversity in the what we're looking at in terms of the work. Animated cartoon with this kind of overlay of streaks and sparkles on his boots and the wink. There's no zoom on this. We're just kind of zooming in on this scene for a moment now, no zoom. And then we come to this hard cut of O.J. Simpson. So now we have this, O.J. in truck on the highway. And it's like really grainy. This is super grainy. And it's in reverse. And it's reverse zoom in, reverse zoom in, and then it plays in forward. So we have reverse, then forward. I'm gonna play that real quick. Oh, let's see, shift and clear that. And in that reverse, when you do a shot and then you play it and then you reverse it, or you reverse it and then you play it forward in the same shot, it has this sort of dancing quality. And we saw that just now. I'm going to play it again, but it has this dancing quality. So if we watch, 10 seconds around and we get to that moment, you're going to see this and feel this kind of like dancing quality. And I love that about the reverse shot in this fashion. And actually, as we come in here, as I didn't notice this on Dave's head in this scene, we're pulsing. We're zooming in and we're zooming out, and we're zooming in and we're zooming out. And those pulse each sort of seem to ease in and out, so they're not super hard, but they have this like easing in and out is when you it's like a fade in and out. So they're pulsing here, but it has this ease in and out. I love that. I love that. I'm going to write that down so we have this like tech overlay. Pulsing zoom with ease in and out on same scene of Dave's head. Okay. It's very similar to this reverse and then forward play on the Simpson truck in terms of how it feels. It's just shorter. It's faster. Huh. Sorry, I get enamored by this. Basically, it's okay. So we have OJ coming in, and it's a reverse forward, and then we cut to Prince, I believe, on a motorcycle. I don't know who this is, and then this kind of looks like Mitt Romney, sorta. I don't know, sort of a politician, I would assume. So you have sort of this diverse offering of people on motorcycles in another animation style. Again, another animation style. And they are actually animated here, and they're moving along. And then they have this warp upward of color right here, these beams. So like upward, beams of color from animated prints. And I think that they come on like sort of, it's not all at once. So it starts over here. This is the first one. And then this one gets bigger. And then all of a sudden there's a bunch of them. And then the next frame they shift. So now they're here. And then they widen, and then it becomes more and more. So it's not like it's not instant. It's happening slowly, which is cool, and it has the colors play with the people that are in it. Wow. This is I think this is Mecca, I think. There's a ton of world cultural references in here, and this upward schmear, I don't know what we'd call that, but like a stretch of color coming upward. Wow. And then that sort of transitions into another one is like a concert. Same schmear downward. So now we're moving like upward, like almost like a projection, like slides moving up. And then we come into this shot, hard cut into this shot, which is a sideways digital schmear. So it's a schmear, not the same. This is a more mirrory schmear of like groups in public outside. And then we have the sideways schmear. And now we're in like the social media world. So we were in the real world with a bunch of people, and now we're in social media world, which is like Facebook. And then this little finger is almost like a little foreshadowing here. So you see the finger in the head and the schmear. And then we come over here and it says, "What's on your mind?" And then we cut back to this. Oh no, we're zooming in. We're zooming in to this head. So digital schmear, what's on your mind? Zoom into this head. And then the finger's back. And it mimics what would be a trigger being pulled on a firearm. And the little digital schmear swipes away. And now it's back again, and it's happening again. Oh, so it happens twice. So let's watch that real quick. Three times. It happens 3 times. So I feel like this moment here is like highly critical of social media, which, you know, I think this is pretty cool use of that. And then the transition from this, we do have a transition here with these specs, and you see up here of this scene, this digital artifacts, and then now they're in this scene, these little digital artifacts, plus these little stars from this dude punching a kangaroo. Oi, mate. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Bow, bow. Okay, so this is definitely like a viral video. I don't know when I've seen it. You've all seen it probably. And this guy smacks the kangaroo in the face. And I think this is probably just looping the same clip. And I don't know if they added this like 60s Batman font animation over top, but that's very cool. And those kind of like, those are zooming in and then they're fading out left to right. So that font's zooming in. And then now we've got a 2-up of the kangaroo punching, and 2-up. And we have the same thing repeating. Same scene repeating. So let's watch that. And that's sped up. So high speed. All right, let's say sped up footage. Sped up footage. And have we seen that yet? Have we seen sort of like, not a speed ramp, but just like, you know, 200, 300x footage? So it's almost like we're looking at, he zooms in on Facebook, social media, has a little criticism there, showcases a viral video, and then showcases the 3 wolves smashing the table. You know, for me, that seems to me, the positioning of those 3 things together seems to tell a story of the hunger people have for social media and the constant need to demand more social media, more funny videos, more of everything online. And that looks like that to me, where it's like social media, this is a viral video, and then the hungry wolves smashing their plates like, I want more. That seems like that's what that is all about. And there's a little push in on that, and that's, you know, I think that's like a, they've carried over the stars also, which are present in this shot. And I think that is connecting the 2 further. And then we cut to, and again, another animation style, like, you know, I don't know what era this is, but this is definitely old school, you know, animation style. And then this is a totally different vibe. And we have, again, we have a 9-up. So we had a 9-up earlier of the hands clapping. So 48 minutes, or 48 seconds, 9 up lips. And then little pop of gum. Lips in space, pop of gum. And on that pop, we cut to Dave's head. 49. And then this looks like the same exact as the right here. So we have, that's where we started. This is where we are. So in this shot, there's no space behind him. Now he's in space, so Dave's in space. And his head, oh, we have the same effect happening. So now the same effect happens here. And the same cracking of his face. And then inside, we can see this universal specs here. Dave's in space. Dave's mind is outer space. So I guess earlier I was right about that, or it appears to be at this point. And we do the full 360 spin. So Dave's head comes apart in cracks for 360 spin and comes back together. That's JFK. So that's the top half. Top half of frame. Is that a video? Or are these images? Those are images. So top half of frame is photo of JFK slides in. And we're black and white here again, and we were color there, so that's black and white, and then same sort of, that's very similar to the front here, where you have that same thing like that, and now we're where we were, and we have So in the front, I just noticed in the front, we're spinning right to left, right? So we've rotated right to left, and we're spinning that direction. And then on the back end here, 49 seconds in, we're spinning the other direction. We're spinning left to right. And I can't help but think that that's on purpose. Spins opposite direction. And was there something before that that would lead to that? No. So we're out in space, and this mouth is chewing gum. And it pops, and then its head spins. Here, let's watch a few seconds of this real quick. Oh, whoops, sorry. I gotta clear my endpoints here. Wow, that's super fast. So this slides in from the right super fast, and then we have Bill Clinton. This is definitely Bill Clinton's face. I don't know why it's so recognizable. And then Richard Nixon slides in. Barack Obama. George Bush, Reagan, Ronald Reagan. Oh, and then Trump made it in there. Wow. So you have all these slides, half frames of presidents, mouths and eyes. So this is, again, kind of an interesting use of photographs and having them slide in like this. Boom. Pray for Kanye. President slide in. Pray for Kanye. Whoa. You on point. Fife? I don't even know what that means. Definitely didn't see that. We're looking at. So pray for Kanye. Pray for Kanye is 4 frames. So we have 4 frames. 4 frames of pray for Kanye and 2 frames of this. You on point knife. And like, this is super subliminal. Like, just, you know, those moments when, you know, you're dreaming or thinking and it's just like, boom, random thought, like super quick. And again, these are so fast. And then we have this quick little zoom on these boats. I'm not sure what these are. These are just old drawings. Again, a different illustration drawing of people on boats. It looks almost like a slave boat. That's what it kind of looks like to me. And then this is the background is sort of outer spacey, and then all of a sudden it's white background. And then those are 2 frames each. They have a warp on them with a little color, a little like warp on the edges, a little blur, like a little, like kind of this like quick zoom in motion. And then this is Old Faithful with like some crazy abstract color going on here. This really weird effect. And then the stars. The stars were earlier with the social media post and the Hungry Wolves. And those are shooting out. And then I love Kevin Hart jersey on the Statue of Liberty, and then in the background of the Statue of Liberty you have this like weird warped TV vibe, which is kind of paying homage to the front of this where you had the TV stuff, and it's warping the screen. And then a Yeti high-fiving a unicorn, it's smoking a cigarette, he's drinking a beer. And then there's a little circle and a little zoom in with a vignette around it. And then I think that's Arnold Schwarzenegger again. This is a cartoon version of him yelling. And then we have Technicolor hands, black and white hands with this like weird color outline similar to that earlier cigarette shot. They're clapping. Now we're back in the audience and we're looking up from the point of view of the stage. And then the hands in the air of another show. Another audience from the... And then we're back to Dave. So, let's watch it from the beginning. Let's watch it from the beginning one more time, and then we'll have a couple more chats on overall thoughts. Well, let me just make sure you guys are getting enough audio here. Hold on.
Is a profound train of thought.
There we go. All right. Here, I'll start it in the beginning.
This is Dave. He tells dirty jokes for a living. That stare is where most of his hard work happens. It signifies a profound train of thought, the alchemist fire that transforms fear and tragedy into levity and livelihood. Dave calls that look the trance.
Working on it.
So there's a ton of sound design in there too. So you have this really cool pop, like kind of poppy song that's like moving it along, and sort of like there's a lot of timing related to the cuts and how that works. But then there's little moments that are reinforced with some sound effects that are gonna sort of amplify those moments. And you're kind of taking this 30-second journey through Dave Chappelle's mind and weaving among the random thoughts and the random things that he thinks about in a very warped way, and sort of like a very dream state way. And then you end up coming at the end to land on his face, and he's just kind of like had this moment of, oh, okay, like he said in the voiceover, trance state. So it's sort of like you're in this moment and you're kind of running through your ideas, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, like I was sort of daydreaming. This is daydreaming, right? This is a nice daydreaming look at Dave Chappelle and his mind. This, for me, I think the biggest takeaways, if I look at my list here, for me are utilizing a variety of different medium in your video work. So he's using photos, he's using animations, he's using overlays on photos and stuff like that, and sort of bringing photos to life in that way. I really love that idea. And I also really love the use of a lot of different techniques, a lot of different tools, but not overusing really any of them. So, he does a speed ramp. I don't know if he does that many though. And he has some footage that's sped up. He has some footage that's zoom in, zoom out, reverse. He has all these cool effects, but none of them are really overdone. It's a mix of a ton of cool effects to make one solid video that feels right. It feels crazy. It feels cool. And he also has normal cuts in there too. And it's just a fantastic piece. And I'm super excited to take some of that and play around with that in my edits and try to really dig into creating some fun poppy stuff using this as inspiration.